everywhere. GBS.
A very good evening and thank you for joining GBS News at 9. My name is Stephen George and our sign language interpreter tonight is Paul Madenge. And now to our top story. President William Ruto is currently at the mid of his tour in Mount Kenya region in what he terms as unleashing his performance record to the public. The president, who has today toured Nyandarua and Murang'a County, has told his political competitors that Kenyans will decide on who to lead the country basing on the track record of an individual, as the crowd became so rowdy to some of his allies, as Davis Karani reports.
Nasi mulinipatia kazi ya kusomesha watoto, ya kupanga stima, ya kupanga soko, ya kupanga mambo ya barabara, ya kuhakikisha kwamba maendeleo yanapatikana. Si nyinyi ndio mtasahihisha hiyo kazi baada ya miaka mitano?
It's a statement that President William Ruto has always used in every region that he has visited in the mountain since he started his tour in the Mount Kenya region. A statement which, according to President William Ruto, will enable him recapture back the presidency as his second in command, Honorable Kithure Kindiki, promised to maintain his loyalty to the president.
Si nyinyi ndio walimu wa kusahihisha? Si mtajua nani hajafanya kazi? Si mtajua nani amefanya kazi?
But even with the warm and the huge welcome of the president to the mountain that is creating conversations within the country, his fellow huntsmen today were roasted by the crowds in different occasions, and the son of the mountain, Honorable Kimani Ichung'wah, who is also the majority leader, was roasted alive by the crowd.
Mimi akaida mwela holai niediga bagaliwo. Hawa watu wa Kware, Mheshimiwa Rais, wamesema hii affordable housing iko hapa. Ile mawe yote inajengwa hapo, ikiwekwa kablo, ipewe hawa vijana affordable housing. Leo mwenene niye oterago.
Other leaders that were caught unaware in the president's tour in the Mount Kenya region included Faith Gitau and the MP for Laikipia, whom the crowd booed, symbolizing their rejection in the mountain. And tomorrow the president is expected to visit the hometown of the Deputy President, Honorable Kithure Kindiki, and much is expected, as the president produced a good record to the public that will speak for him in the next general elections. Only time will tell. Davis Karani, GBS News in the Mount Kenya region.
President William Ruto today commissioned the Maragua Ridge Irrigation Development Project in Murang'a County, a step towards boosting agricultural productivity in the region. The project is set to improve food security, reduce costs for farmers, and create new economic opportunities.
President William Ruto today commissioned 312 million to the Maragua Ridge Irrigation Development Project in Murang'a County, an initiative aimed at boosting agricultural productivity by providing reliable irrigation to local farmers, and is expected to improve food security.
Tuuliza pesa. Tumeweka hapa pesa ya serikali milioni 312 kusambaza maji ya irrigation kwa wananchi wa sehemu hii. Hapa Murang'a tuko na miradi 36, 10 imeisha, 26 inaendelea, na tutatumia karibu shilingi bilioni 4 kuhakikisha kwamba ekari 13,000 hapa Murang'a zinaunganishwa na maji ya irrigation, hasa katika sehemu kame kama hapa Maragua, ndio tuweze kuzalisha chakula, tuondoe njaa na tupeleke Kenya yetu mbele.
In his speech, President Ruto highlighted the government's efforts to reduce the cost of fertilizers and emphasized the administration's commitment to revitalizing the coffee sector.
Vile mimi niliwaeleza kwa mambo ya kilimo, tutapunguza gharama ya mbolea. Ile mbolea ilikuwa inauzwa 6,000 7,000. Huyu Kang'ata atawaambia sasa tunauza 2,500 hapa Murang'a. Na ile kilimo ya mambo ya kahawa ilikuwa imesumbuliwa sana na wakora na matapeli. Watu ambao mtu mmoja ako na leseni ya broker, ako na leseni ya Mila, ako na leseni ya Nairobi Coffee Exchange. Sasa tumenyorosha hiyo sehemu, Bei ya kahawa imetoka shilingi 50, 60, sasa iko shilingi 110, 120 ikienda mbele. Na mimi nataka niwahakikishie wakulima wa kahawa, tutaweka usimamizi ya sawasawa, tuondoe mabroka, na nimeambia wale wote ambao ni matapeli wamesumbua wakulima wa kahawa Kenya hii, wahame Kenya ama tutawafunga jela.
Additionally, the president announced that the government will construct the road from Bombo to Thamaki, which will further improve access and infrastructure in the region.
Mimi nimeambiwa nyinyi watu wa hapa mnanidai barabara. Sasa wewe bwana Mbogwa, amri imetoka kwa hao wananchi imekuja kwangu. Na mimi amri nimetoa, sasa wewe hii barabara enda tangaza, sio kilomita 2 ile ulitangaza. Tangaza kilomita 13 kutoka kule Bombo mpaka kwa Thamaki. Si ndio?
Triza Tiengo, GBS News.
Wiper leader Kalonzo Musyoka has declared that Azimio la Umoja collapsed after Raila Odinga sparked with President William Ruto, asserting that Wiper was the only party still loyal to the coalition. Speaking during Umoja Summit Party's annual delegates convention in Nairobi this afternoon, Kalonzo stated that he will not attack Raila and other people, particularly those he once worked with, as it was not part of his personality.
Wiper Party leader Kalonzo Musyoka has declared that Azimio la Umoja coalition effectively ceased to exist when ODM leader Raila Odinga signed a cooperation agreement with President William Ruto. Speaking today, Kalonzo asserted that the March 7th MOU between Raila and Ruto marked the political death of Azimio, leading Wiper as the only party still loyal to the coalition.
Whatever was Azimio la Umoja 1 came, and this is a very unfortunate statement, but it is the reality. When our friends in ODM openly signed agreement with Kenya Kwanza outside Kenyatta Conference Center, in my view, that marked the end of Azimio. So we have to be realistic. We have to be realistic because Wiper Democratic Movement cannot remain alone in Azimio. So this is a statement of fact.
Despite this, Kalonzo maintained that he would not personally attack Raila, insisting that the long-standing relationship remains intact.
However, we live in this country. We have developed personal relationships and respect for each other. Nobody will ever hear me attacking Raila Odinga because that is not my DNA. That's not my DNA. Nobody will hear me attacking. So, because of the history, the long history, but we will respect each other's choices.
However, his previous remarks sparked a sharp response from ODM officials who accused Kalonzo of dishonesty over his recent criticism of the IEBC recruitment process. On April 2nd, ODM Secretary General Edwin Sifuna dismissed Kalonzo's claims that the selection of the new IEBC chairperson and commissioners was being manipulated by ODM and Ruto's UDA party. Sifuna reminded Kalonzo that the process follows the NADCO report, which was chaired by Kalonzo himself, making his allegations contradictory. Kalonzo made his statements during the Umoja Summit Party's annual delegates convention, where the party rebranded the Democratic National Alliance, also called DNA. Hilary Kabila, GBS News, Nairobi.
As Kenyans continue to mourn George Oduor, who was ODM party leader Raila Odinga's bodyguard, our very own GBS TV reporter Victor Odun gives us a snippet of history of this man behind a man whose towering figure always by Raila's side for nearly 3 decades. Meanwhile, families, friends and relatives today thronged into Montezuma Funeral Home, where his body has been transferred for preservation awaiting burial.
A somber mood still engulfs the nation since the ODM party leader Raila Odinga's bodyguard or personal aide, George Oduor, took his last breath yesterday at the Nairobi West Hospital, where he had been admitted for the past 2 weeks now. Today, his body has been transferred to Montezuma Funeral Home for preservation awaiting burial. And who really was this man, George Odor, Raila's bodyguard? A silent sentinel who has walked in Kenya's political history footsteps, always one pace behind Raila for nearly 3 decades. The late Odor was more than a personal aide. He was indeed Raila's shadow. In a world and age where almost everyone craves for public limelight, be it on mainstream or social media platform, Odor, despite close proximity to power, chose to remain private up until death made him the headline. His has been unshakable loyalty to Raila through every twist and turn, silently witnessing the heroic triumphs, enduring trials, all that shaped Kenyan political history. Sure indeed, this man as Raila's aide has navigated the chaotic street protests, has stood behind high-profile political negotiations in Kenya. A former military officer, a trained VIP protection officer, the late Odor initially served as personal aide to Raila Odinga's father, the late Jaramogi Oginga Odinga. His is a story that inspires, enigmatic and heartbreaking. A man behind a man. Unshakable loyalty. Victor Dun. GBS News at 9.
Condolences to the family. It is time for us to take a short break. Keep your feedback streaming into our social media platform at GBS TV Africa. The SMS line is 21144. We'll be right back.
We are going to be talking about goal setting itself and building resilience. Goal setting and building resilience.
So hawezi sema nita set goal then someone else akuja kuwork on the goal. Hawezi sema uta set goal yenyewe mwenyewe huwezi reach. Hawezi sema uta set goal na mali una stand like huwezi reach ile goal umeset.
Just imagine I've promised someone that I will do something to them by the end of this year, and then surely I fail. What will happen? You know, they will say Steve has broken my heart.
Nimeset hata mimi goals, but ni realistic goals.
Unajua aje ni realistic?
Because najua I'm capable of, like, they're realistic. They're making sense. Sijasema nanunua V8 by the end of the year. But because I know inaweza kuwa impossible because mtu anaangalianga. Si kumake tu. Unajua utaandika. By December 31st, nataka kuwa na iPhone 16 Pro.
It is insane to do the same thing and expect different results. Yeah, so definitely we need to see, like, if it is not working, what is in this system that is making this thing fail, and I'm expecting these results. How can I improve this project?
The goals that you set, maybe ukiona like maybe that can be affected by kitu huwezi avoid.
About self-competition. I'm only in competition with the person I see in the mirror, and that is me. So it is about my personal development.
It's not just a matter of writing and putting and now waiting, you know.
My name is Ima Gatoru. I'm a model, a commercial model to be precise. And I've been asked this question, like, is model an art? And yes, modeling is an art. Because there are different products that you're supposed to promote or design, and you have to have that skill of you promoting that design or that product. So how you walk, how you talk, how you present yourself, like how you pose for a picture or pose for an item in your mepewa, or how you drive into a place in your mepewa. So you have to have that art or that skill for you to actually deliver what they want you to deliver. So yeah, modeling is an art.
everywhere. GBS.
And welcome back. The Law Society of Kenya strongly condemned the Inspector General of Police Douglas Kanja Kiricho for attending and speaking at a political rally in Kieni, Nyeri County. In a press statement, LSK criticized the Inspector General's participation, calling it a violation of the Constitution's principles and a threat to the neutrality of the National Police Service. The society argues that his presence at the rally alongside political leaders compromises his impartiality and undermines public trust in law enforcement, citing multiple legal provisions including the Constitution, the National Police Service Act and the Leadership and Integrity Act. LSK has called for Mr. Kanja's immediate public apology and withdrawal from political activities. In a strongly worded statement, LSK further warned that Mr. Kanja's action could expose him to removal from office as his conduct allegedly violates the Constitution and the National Police Service standing orders. The society also questioned the priorities of the Inspector General, citing rising insecurity in the country and his failure to address pressing security concerns. They have urged him to either focus on his constitutional duties or step aside to allow a more impartial officer to take up the role. The controversy surrounding the Inspector General's involvement in politics now raises concerns about the independence of the Kenya's police service. Stay tuned for more updates on this developing story. Outrage is boiling over in Busia County today as women leaders and activists are demanding action against a surge in gender-based violence, specifically the alarming rise in rape cases targeting young schoolgirls. The most recent case involves a 16-year-old girl from Matayos constituency allegedly assaulted by a man over 50 years old. Leaders say many victims come from impoverished families, making them even more vulnerable. The activists are particularly incensed by the release on bail of the suspect in the 16-year-old case, claiming he is an influential figure. This has fueled their determination to organize peaceful protest, demanding his immediate rearrest and prosecution. Adding to the urgency, another similar rape case has been reported to Teso South constituency, painting a grim picture of the escalating crisis in the region. The women leaders and activists have vowed to continue their protest until their demands are met, highlighting the growing frustration and desperation over the rising tide of gender-based violence in Busia County.
Na gender-based violence zinafanya pamoja. Ningeomba wanaume wa Busia tafadhali, kama unajisikia na mwanamke, kuna wamama kama mimi ni chair lady single mothers, kuja unichukue, wacha kudeal na watoto wadogo. Because tumechoka kama county, watoto wetu wanaumia, masomo ya mtoto inaisha. Tunataka haki itendeke, na pia tunataka iwe funzo, awe funzo na kielelezo kwa wanaume wengine wenye ukatili na wenye hawana nidhamu, wenye hawaheshimu watoto wa watu. Kwa sababu umri yake, huyo si ni mtoto wake, hata mtoto wake sijui namba ngapi, karibu kitinda mimba yake.
The DCI are currently holding 8 suspects on land fraud following intelligence reports of individuals forging land ownership and government-related documents to defraud the public. The multi-agency operations launched on March 28th has led to the arrest of 8 key suspects, including Livingstone Ambai Munala, Dan Adero Koth, Nicholas Mukuna Yela, Paul Muigai Kimani, Patrice Josiah Tumbo, Emmanuel Matheka Mutuko, and Leonard Clifford Wafula. During the raids, investigators recovered multiple fraudulent land documents, including original title deeds, blank grant titles, allotment letters, green cards, passport-size photos, and over 287 assorted stamps used in the forgery scheme. Among the arrested suspects, Dan Okoth serves as an assistant security officer at the Ministry of Lands, while Emmanuel Matheka is a casual laborer at Adri House. Josiah Tumbo is a land broker, and Clifford Wafula works at the government press as a printer. The suspects have since been arraigned at Mlimani Law Courts, where detectives secured additional time to finalize investigations and track down other accomplices. It is time for us to take a short break. Keep your feedback streaming into our social media platforms at GBS TV Africa. The SMS line is 21144. We'll be right back.
Hello everyone. I'm so much thankful to have this precious time to actually share with you the word of God. When I was growing up and when I was attending church, my former church, I was taught that, you know, although I'm saved, but as I, when I commit sin, I become a sinner. And then when I become a sinner, again, I repent my sin every day for it to be forgiven, so that I can be assured of salvation. But when I was living a life of trying to confess my sin each and every day, and believing that I'm a sinner, actually I could not have an assurance of my salvation in my heart. So I thought, and I was taught that my sin is, the deeds which I do outwardly. Until the time I came to realize, for sure, I'm a person who cannot really do good. The problem is not the deeds which I'm doing outwardly. The problem is the core. The core of my heart itself is evil. Jesus, what he did, he lived among us. And then he died on the cross because of our sin. And then he rose again. The reason why now he did not just resurrect and go to heaven, it is because of, to meet the disciple and to witness that, sin and death could not have any power in his life. He wanted to manifest that eternal life.
Welcome to Fun Art Class. Today we are going to make a sailboat. First, you fold a triangle, a half. Friends, today we made a sailboat.
Everywhere, GBS.
And welcome back now to international news. Mozambique's parliament has passed a landmark law aimed at fostering political reconciliation and stability. The legislation, which follows a peace agreement between President Chapo and all political parties, including significant constitutional changes and adjustment to presidential powers. While it has received broad support, opposition parties have expressed mixed reactions, with some raising concerns about the timing and intent of the reforms. This move comes amid ongoing political unrest and protest that has left hundreds of people dead.
Mozambique's parliament has passed a new law aimed at fostering political reconciliation and stability. following a peace agreement signed on March 5th between President Daniel Chapo and all political parties. The law, which includes constitutional revisions and changes to presidential powers, received unanimous support from the ruling Frelimo party, highlighting its role in strengthening democracy and putting the people's interests first. Opposition's party had mixed reactions, with the Democratic Movement of Mozambique, MDM, welcoming the law but criticized the government for acting too late. Pademo's party saw it as a turning point for reconciliation, urging inclusivity in political processes. Meanwhile, Renamo party remained skeptical, warning that past agreements have been unfulfilled and urging the government to avoid using the law as a tactic for further repression. The law's constitutional reforms focuses on decentralizing power, restructuring the state, and depoliticizing institutions. These changes come after months of protests and violence, which have claimed over 360 lives, signaling that while progress is being made, significant political challenges remain. Elvin Muyodi, GBS News.
President Donald Trump imposed a 10% reciprocal tariffs on all Kenyans' exports to the U.S. effective April 9, 2025, citing trade imbalances and Kenya's existing 10% tariffs on American goods. These moves aligns with Trump's broader reciprocal tariff policy targeting over 60 countries, including 7 African nations like Rwanda, Uganda, and Ethiopia. Kenya's $737 million exports to the U.S. will face increased costs, particularly affecting apparel, coffee, and tea under the African Growth and Opportunity Act, AGOA, which provided duty-free access since 2000 but expires in September 2025. High tariffs threaten Kenya's export competitiveness, risking job losses, reduce foreign exchange earnings, and destabilization of key industries. While the baseline is 10%, Kenya could face additional tariffs if deemed to impose non-tariff barriers or currency manipulations. Other African nations face higher rates, such as Nigeria at 14% and Zimbabwe at 18%. The U.S. imported $782 million worth of goods from Kenya in 2024, up 61.4% year-on-year. The tariffs coincide with ongoing U.S.-Kenya trade negotiations under the Strategic Trade and Investment Partnership, now jeopardized by this policy shift. Kenya's 16% VAT and 30% tariffs on select U.S. goods were cited as partial justification.
If you look at that, China, first row, China, 67%. That's tariffs charged to the USA, including currency manipulation and trade barriers. So 67%, I think you can, for the most part, see it. So 67%, so we're going to be charging a discounted reciprocal tariff of 34%. I think, in other words, they charge us, we charge them less. So how can anybody be upset? They will be, because we never charge anybody anything, but now we're going to charge. European Union, they're very tough, very, very tough traders. You know, you think of European Union, very friendly. They rip us off. It's so sad to see. It's so pathetic. We're going to charge them 20%, so we're charging them essentially half. Japan, very, very tough. Great people. And again, I don't blame the people for doing it. I think they're very smart in doing it. I blame the people that sat right in that Oval Office, right over there, right behind the Resolute desk or whichever desk they chose. Japan, 46%. They would charge us 46%, and much higher for certain items like cars, you know, little items like cars. 46%, we're charging them 24%. And today we're standing up for the American worker, and we are finally putting America first.
Protests erupted in Haiti's capital, Port-au-Prince, as thousands of citizens demanded stronger action from the government to combat the growing gang violence that has left much of the city under control of armed groups. The demonstrations, which began peacefully, turned violent as gunfires broke out, highlighting the intensifying frustration with the government's inability to address the crisis.
Thousands of Haitians took to the streets of Port-au-Prince, demanding the government to take immediate action to ensure their safety amid the ongoing violence from armed gangs. Protesters carrying machetes and palm fronds marched through the capital, voicing their calls for freedom, security, and the ability to work and rebuild their country.
We came here to give them, the government, our demands. We demand freedom, we demand security. We need to be able to work and save our country.
The demonstration, which started peacefully, turned violent as gunfire broke out, sending the crowd fleeing and clashing with the police. This protest highlighted the growing frustration with the government's failure to contain the armed gangs that now control nearly all of Port-au-Prince and surrounding areas. The violence has led to widespread displacement, with over 1 million people forced from their homes, contributing to a deepening economic crisis and widespread hunger. The United Nations-backed security missions in Haiti has proven ineffective, with gangs accused of extortion, rape, and mass killings. According to a recent UN report, more than 4,200 people were killed across Haiti from July to February, and over 1,350 others were injured as the humanitarian crisis worsens. Triza Tiengo, GBS News.
It is time for your most favorite segment of the show, the sports news. Let's get sporty. As the excitement builds for the ICC World Test Championship final, Australia's Nathan Lyon is gearing up for a thrilling showdown against South Africa. Lyon is anticipating a fierce battle between two of the world's best bowling attacks. He's also looking forward to test his skills against some of South Africa's rising battling stars. But it's not just the final that's on Lyon's mind. He's also been showing support for his teammate after the spinner was recently cleared of a suspect bowling action by the ICC.
Nathan Lyon is excited for the upcoming ICC World Test Championship final against South Africa, set to take place at Lord's Cricket Ground in England from June 11th to June 15th this year. Lyon highlighted the fierce competition between two of the world's best bowling attacks, acknowledging South Africa's emerging talents. For Lyon, the WTC final is the ultimate goal of a cricketer's career.
South Africa's going to be a big challenge. They've got some upcoming batters who are very talented. I played against a couple of them in county cricket last year. But I think it's going to be, yet again, two of the best bowling attacks going at each other. So it's going to be a good challenge for all our batters in both teams. But it's another final, isn't it? So that's what you want to play cricket for. You want to be in finals. You want to win trophies. So we get the chance to defend the ace. So that's pretty exciting.
Lyon also showed support for teammate Matt Kuhnemann, who was recently cleared by the ICC of a suspected bowling action. After being pardoned, Kuhnemann was also named among Cricket Australia's contracted players for the 2025-2026 season, a boost Lyon is pleased to see for his fellow spinner. Elvin Muyodi, GBS News.
FIFA President Gianni Infantino visited the iconic Rose Bowl Stadium in Pasadena, California, ahead of the inaugural Club World Cup this summer. The tournament, set to run from 14th of June to 13th of July, will feature 32 clubs from around the globe, including 4 teams from Africa, displaying football's global and inclusive spirit.
FIFA President Gianni Infantino visited the Rose Bowl Stadium, one of the 12 host venues for the inaugural Club World Cup, taking place from June 14th to July 13th. The tournament will feature 32 clubs from all 6 FIFA confederations, including 4 teams from Africa,
highlighting football's global and inclusivity spirit.
We are here today because FIFA has created a new event, a new FIFA World Cup, after we know since almost 100 years which country is the best country in the world in soccer since 1930. It was about time that we come up with a competition which will determine which club, which team is the best team in the world.
Infantino also honored first responders affected by the January wildfires. FIFA is donating 2 tickets per first responder for matches at the Rose Bowl Stadium, recognizing their bravery and dedication to the community. Elvin Muyodi, GBS Sports.
Well, we have come to the end of the news bulletin. It is always a pleasure having you on board. Let's do this again, same time, same channel. My name is Stephen George. Our sign language interpreter tonight has been Paul Madenge. Good night.
Everywhere, GBS.